The question I get asked more than anything else is, so what do you believe? It comes up more than any other question in the comments, and holy shit, what an open-ended and complicated question to answer with any sort of brevity. And usually I try to boil things down into very small things, but even those few things have massive caveats on them because I think about belief in a much different way than I used to. The thought forms I had, the way of thinking. So before I even talk about what do I believe about God or the church or Jesus, I need to talk about what a belief is. But first, if you're new here, I'll give you the Spark Notes version of my life so you can get caught up as to where I'm coming from, at least in part. So, like many of you probably, I grew up secretly queer in the American South. My family was upper middle class. We were in the church usually a few times a week, and my mom was the worship leader. Uncle was the pastor. It was very Baptist-ish, non-denom. I was always pretty fruity and expressive. So in college, I low-key got sucked into this Pentecostal culty church that like used all of my musician talents and my leadership skills to their ends. And eventually, I ended up joining another cult and went around the world as a missionary with a group called Adventures in Missions. And yes, it's super, super culty, but we'll get into that to another time. When I came out in 2015, I got kicked out of missionary world. And, then I kind of flipped in the opposite direction. And I was very dedicated for a long time to trying to reform the church, especially those who were like wishy washy on LGBTQ inclusion. And frankly, it burnt me out because it was not just a matter of like political organizing, where in political organizing, you hit the politician in their money to make them move. But in reforming churches, it's all heart work, all relationships. And too many times my heart would just break. It would get broken by well meaning, mostly white male pastors who wanted to do the right thing, but where their job held them captive. Their job required them to never change their mind about anything, to never allow new thoughts or ideas to enter because money, right? Eventually, I got real disillusioned with the whole institution and I saw really how it was tied up with the capitalist machine. And I also knew how it was tied up with the soul because the thought and belief that drove everyone was if I don't keep the status quo, if I don't keep this thing going, I'm going to hell. And I couldn't do that anymore. So I went out and started looking for God elsewhere. I started studying yoga, and not just like the asana forms that you do in the fitness class, but like the philosophy of life that yoga brings to the world. Because I wanted to find peace because I had none. And so that led me to meditation, that led me to studying Zen Buddhism, and then my natural spiritual woo-woo tendencies led me into looking into what my ancestors believed before Christianity colonized them. I wanted to know who God was to my people. And of course, because I was into Buffy and Charmed and Harry Potter, I also picked up tarot cards and crystals and got real into charging shit under the moonlight. Who among us hasn't? And of course, what ex-evangelical story would be complete without a stint in seminary where I lost my faith in the institutional church and then switched from an MDiv, Master's of Divinity, to a Master's in Practical Theology, to frankly shorten the time I had to be in school and still get my master's and pay less money and get on with my life because I, again, realized that like I had no interest in the institution anymore. And since then, I've published two books. My first book is called Bad Theology Kills, and the second one is called What Makes You Bloom. You should totally go get them. And, in between then and now, I, did that thing where you trip on LSD and you meet God in your own flesh. And then you realize that even these things, even these tools, these practices, these paths to liberation, all of it can easily slip into fundamentalism again. And that's a story for another time. So I've been coaching folks through their spiritual recovery periods. And that's like where you figure out not only what you believe, but why you believe what you do. And you question the shit that doesn't work. And you find the practices that do. And frankly, it's the best thing I've ever done. I've done group work, I've done private one-to-one work, and it's just fucking brilliant. It really is. To see people move from a fear of a God they claim to not believe in, of skydaddery, to move into um to move into have a triggering relationship to Jesus and into a devotional path of joy. And so, like, for some folks, that looks like letting go of all the Christian shit, totally embracing their pagan roots. And some of it looks like integrating Christ's teachings into a new way of understanding that is multi-faith oriented and focused on like waking up to love and our power to shape life. And then, here's the section 1. Okay, so what do you, that's like the backstory stuff, right? That's all backstory. Now we're getting into the first question. Okay, so what do you believe? Right. Thank you so much for watching. This is part of a series of videos in the same video essay, but I'm chopping it up because this is YouTube. If you want to watch the entire video essay before everybody else and completely ad-free, go to patreon.com/thekevingarcia and join the crew of other spiritual seekers around the crowded table. And also, if you like what I'm saying, you're going to love what I'm saying in these 2 books, Bad Theology Kills and What Makes You Bloom. They're the 2 greatest things I've ever written, and they are sure to help you on your deconstruction/reconstruction/faith journey of wherever you're ending up. And please be sure to subscribe. Please be sure to like, and then share this with somebody that you think needs to hear this. And then after you share it, comment below and let me know if you think I'm going to hell for this. I love y'all. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.